Hi there, my name is Aubrey Bruckner. I'm Head of Operations at Cadence, and I'm here today to do a quick demo on the different effort levels that we offer today. Let's get started. Okay, so today we have 4 different effort levels available in the platform. Instant and Fast are currently free, and Standard and Pro are our paid options. And before we get started, I'm just going to hop over here and check my number of credits so we can calculate how many credits each session is consuming. We do have a usage history feature planned for the near future, but it's not ready quite just yet, so we're going to do some manual calculation for the demo today. Alright, so first I'm going to go in here and select fast mode, and then I am going to add my files from the Finder. Alright, here I'm uploading 21 PDF files that contain my dog's veterinarian data, so results from blood tests and the like, as well as 2 JPEGs, a picture of each dog. So we'll confirm, attach those to our session, and then I already wrote a prompt separately. I'm just going to paste it in here to save some time, but to give an overview, so I'm telling Cadence that I'm uploading records from my dogs. Here's how old they are, here is their breed, and a couple of things that I already know about their health. So Shen has some elevated liver enzymes that Cadence should be able to pick up in the PDFs, and Pablo has canine Addison's and is well medicated for all of his conditions. So I'm going to ask Cadence to look at all of their health records and let me know what the test results reveal about their overall health and if their pre-existing health conditions are well managed. Let's see how this goes on fast mode. Alright, so Cadence has just created its research plan. Let's check it out. Alright, it wants to know what kind of write-up we want, so let's say we want a report. And we want a historical trend analysis. Alright, so we've given Cadence some additional context before moving forward, and now it's going to jump right into generating the report that we asked. So this window pops up and you can kind of see what the steps are and how it's executing on it. And we're back. The time is now 5:28 p.m., which meant Cadence took exactly 15 minutes to generate our initial report. So Cadence in the chat box is going to give you a kind of summary of the task, how it went, what the methodology was. But if you want to see the final output, you can jump over to the session directory here. Look at writing outputs, final, and then here is the final health report, which is going to pop up in your browser. You can also choose to download it as well. Alright, so we got a 4-page report, just like we asked for. And we see some infographics. Okay, explanation for how it extracted and handled the data. And then jumps right into results. Definitely technical in nature, but that's what we asked for. And yeah, looks good. Alright, so now we're going to take this exact same prompt and run it on the next effort level, which is standard. All right, so we're going to paste the same prompt in. We are going to upload the exact same data sets. All right, 23 files are attached. Let's send and see what happens. All right, so Cadence just created the research and execution plan for the standard effort level. So we get the same question, what kind of output do we want? This time it's asking for a time range, output format, and data visualization. Okay, so let's do a report. All right, the time now is 5:57 p.m. and we started our query at 5:30 p.m., which means that Cadence took about 27 minutes to generate the result. Let's check out the final reports. All right, so first impression is, whoa, the graphics and visualization is kind of leveled up from the standard and fast mode. We see Pablo and Shen's side by side, whereas the last version was giving just like, here's Pablo's trends, here's Shen's trends, but here they're showing it together, which is kind of cool. All right. It gave us a 2-column layout this time, which is kind of interesting. And you can see there are just kind of a lot more data visualizations that focus on multiple biomarkers. So the last version, the standard version, just showed like Pablo's trend of sodium, whereas here we have like multiple biomarkers, which is kind of interesting to see. Let's look at this one. Okay, this one compares Pablo and Shen's results side by side, which is kind of cool, especially considering that they are brothers. And we didn't ask Cadence to do this. All right, and then at the end summarizes abnormal biomarker trends, which is what we asked it to do. All right, and Cadence is giving some conclusions here. Of course, note that this is not a replacement for your normal vet or medical advice, but just interesting to see the results. And then we have some references here. All right, and now I also want to check the number of credits that consumed. So this is at 224 credits, and we started with 233. So this cost us about $9–10 to run that query. We're going to do a final demo on the pro effort mode. We're going to copy in the exact same prompt and then upload the same files. All right, so Cadence has now given us kind of some initial questions after it reviewed the data in the prompt. So we'll just give it the same information. We want a report. All right, interesting that it flagged the redacted in the file name this time, but Cadence should be able to figure it out because each file has the dog's name in it. All right, Cadence has come up with a research plan. Looks good to me, and calls out a couple of tools that it's going to use. So let's say proceed. All right, and now I'm just gonna let this run. I estimate it's going to take about 45 minutes to an hour, so we'll come back later. All right, just a quick update. The query on Pro Mode is still running. We started it about 40 minutes ago, but I just wanted to show how Cadence is running differently on Pro Mode compared to the fast and standard mode, in that before it just went into executing the code and then writing the report. Here it's kind of going in an iterative pattern, reviewing the methodology, making sure that it's like passing rigorous criteria, executing the research plan, and then going back to finish all of these steps, which is why you'll see it kind of repeated below here, executing research plan, doing methodology, writing and executing code. All right, so our Pro Mode query has finished. It took about 55 minutes total to complete, and I checked my credits, and they are at 203.76. So it cost about $20 to generate this report, as well as process all of the 20 PDFs that I had uploaded. So let's check out the final results. All right, here we just have an overview of the results and findings, what artifacts were generated as part of our query, and where to find them. Great, and I love that it references the questions from my initial query and gives a really clear answer here before we even jump into the report. All right, so let's take a look at the report. Final. All right, so initial input, love that it uses the little dog icons. I also gave Cadence 2 JPEGs, so it's probably taking the visual data from those JPEGs and incorporating it into this report. Gives like quick view answer to my questions, stable versus unstable, and I also noticed that the formatting of this report is much better than the one from fast and standard mode. One thing that I really like is that in this report, it cites the data that I gave it. So I gave it 20 PDFs and 2 photographs, rather than just summarizing all of that data and putting into the report. All right. I will note that the other reports had given the biomarker data as kind of plots over time, but here it summarizes it into tables, which I think is a little bit more intuitive to see, what are the numbers and what is the reference range, because the plots leave out the reference range. So I think that's really important information. But we can actually see that that's represented here. And then same results here for Pablo, looking good with clickable links to the citations. Tiny formatting issue here, not too bad. And a disclaimer. So yeah, I think visually it's much more compelling than the reports that were generated with Standard and Pro. I will say the results are a little bit different depending on the level of report. The Pro mode report compared to the fast and standard mode reports shows a little bit more urgency in Shen's case, whereas all 3 reports consistently showed that Pablo's case was stable. So I think it's interesting to see that like the fast mode recommended okay, Shen's case needs medical monitoring, whereas the Pro mode report is showing that Shen's case is a little bit more acute. And I'm just wondering if that's because Pro mode has more rigorous research processes that it's pulling from data sources that might suggest such. All right, so here's Pablo and Shen's veterinary assessment as done on Pro mode. Right away I see that it's using the dog images, dog icons here, which is probably pulled from the JPEGs that I originally fed to Cadence. Fast and standard mode didn't do anything with those photos, so it's interesting to see them incorporated here. I think the formatting of this report is a lot more pleasant to look at, where fast was just kind of like one column with minimal formatting. Standard was two columns, which was a little bit awkward for some of the data formatting. It got pretty small. But here it's really nicely laid out and kind of color coded. I also really like that this report cites what data I gave it, whereas the other two reports were just kind of summarizing them in aggregate. You can see like the sampling dates for their panels, and then like how the statistical analysis was performed. And then I also really like that there's color coding in this report, so seeing the time series in tables with their reference range is a little bit easier for me to read than the plots. But yeah, I hope this gives you a great overview of what Cadence is capable of on the different effort modes, as well as the time it takes to run a query and the approximate cost. Of course, how much it costs and how long it takes to run a session is going to be really dependent on how much data you're bringing, the complexity of your query, and so on and so forth. But I think one of the great things is that because our effort levels have a price cap, you will know that you won't ever pay over X dollar to run a query. But yeah, if you have any questions, feel free to reach out to our team at support@k-dence.ai, and we'll be more than happy to explore your use case with you and give you some pointers on how to use the system. Thanks so much.